News for the Lazy, Episode 5. As everyone should know right now, the Black Lives Matter protests have been going on in America for around 3 weeks, starting with the death of George Floyd going viral. The protests have centered around the Black Lives Matter movement to argue against the unjust violence being dealt to African Americans by the police. All 50 states have joined the protesters, and it has become a global movement involving 17 other countries protesting, causing it to become the largest civil rights movement in history. And by the way, in the description of this video, there are going to be a couple of petitions and also donation forms that you can sign up or check out, and also website links, because even though the protests are going at full force right now, the work is still not done. For example, Breonna Taylor's murders and many others have still not been prosecuted. And now, involving the Black Lives Matter community and police brutality as a whole, there are many factors that play into police brutality, specifically in America. There's the whole concept of police immunity. There's racial inequality plus racial profiling, and the over-policing of low-income communities. There's the lack of police training. There's the excessive equipment and funding given to the police. For example, if you check your city's fundings, like I checked mine, you could definitely find that 50 to 60% of your funding is going to the police department and underfunding many other community service programs in your city, which is now putting extra responsibility onto the police that they are not equipped to handle. There's the use of excessive force due to the lack of police training and the excessive equipment, and there's also police precinct solidarity, which was definitely shown when 52 police officers in Buffalo resigned in support of the police officers who had been fired for pushing down a 75-year-old man at the protest where he cracked his head open. And that's not really the best look you want to have for yourself, but you know what? You do you. Of course, considering that this is going on in America, the government has released a powerful statement concerning the protest, saying that the murder of George Floyd was the result of inhumane police brutality that is perpetuated by a culture of white supremacy. What happened to George Floyd was not the result of a bad apple. It was the predictable consequence of a racist and prejudiced system and a culture that has treated black bodies as the enemy from the beginning. What happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis is the fruit born of the toxic seeds planted on the shores of our country in Jamestown in 1619 when... Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay, this isn't the government statement. This is Ben and Jerry's statement. What kind of worries me is the fact that Ben and Jerry's went harder on their statement than Trump did, and than most government officials did. And not only did they release a page-and-a-half statement that you can read on their website, in their statement they included an entire plan to start revolutionizing the police system. They're really doing the most right now. Trump did kind of give a statement, and this was before his whole church photo op. Right before it, he gave a speech concerning the protests, and if you want to watch it, please do, but from what I got, he spent 5 minutes talking about the impact that the death had on George Floyd's family, and then he spent the rest of the 10 minutes talking about how he was going to put the protesters away, call the National Guard, crush the protesters and thugs who were looting the city, as if the entire problem would go away once protesters were off the streets, which is not true. In fact, his entire stance has kind of been proven throughout his presidency in many instances, like the video of him telling cops at the precinct to be less gentle with criminals, to be less nice. His statement very recently where he said he was generally in favor of banning police chokeholds, but said they may be appropriate in some circumstances. He said, and I quote, "I think the concept of chokeholds sounds so innocent and so perfect." Which, ew. And then, of course, after the murder of George Floyd, he said, "It would be, I think, a very good thing that, generally speaking, it should be ended," which is the most bumbling way to get past any statement I have ever seen. But this has sort of been the government's response so far, and things are not getting any better. And protesting has achieved a lot. The Breonna law has been passed, petitions have been signed, laws have been done. Police precincts are going to get revolutionized, and the work must continue. Next up, there has been a demand to investigate Tesla, especially Tesla's Fremont site. and many other factories across the country. So, the ongoing fight over working conditions at the Tesla plant in Fremont got Governor Gavin Newsom's attention on Monday as protesters made a new demand for state inspectors to get involved. They have claimed that ever since the Fremont facility reopened in April after Musk pulled his whole stunt by threatening to sue the county, there have been no outside inspections, and they are accusing Tesla of hiding health records. Many who aren't at the protest or who aren't speaking up are doing so out of fear for losing their job or facing any repercussions. The group who are over there said that workers are working long hours with inadequate safety and social distancing measures. The same thing has been happening in the Amazon corporate houses and many other large corporate factories in America. And you know what? Now is not the time. Now is not the time to be giving corporate America a pass like we have been in America for a very long time, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. The number one priority should be safety and sanitation right now. We cannot be having chum bucket level safety. We have to have at least Krusty Krab level safety. And it wasn't even the cleanest place in the SpongeBob cinematic universe, but it was at least a passing level. Finally, if we want some news that is slightly less depressing, Diego the Tortoise has gotten a hero's retirement. And if you don't know who Diego is, first of all, shame on you, he's the most famous celebrity right now, but Diego is a libidinous giant tortoise credited with saving his species. He is finally retired to an uninhabited island off the coast of Ecuador, social distancing king, after decades of service in a breeding program. He's over 100 years old, and he has produced around 800 offspring. When he arrived from the San Diego Zoo, there were just 2 males and 12 females in his species that were alive on the entire island, but this man single-handedly helped to boost the population to over 2,000. The Galapagos National Park Service believes that he is the patriarch for around 40% of that population. And you know what? While we may not be having the corona vacation of our dreams, we can't go to Los Angeles or the beach, I am slightly comforted by the fact that he's going somewhere.